Okay, 5 o'clock. Let's call this meeting to order. Eddie, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Let's do the roll.
Okay. Lee Sandweiss,
Here.
Chris Sturbaum,
Here.
John Saunders, Sam DeSoler,
Here.
Doug Bruce,
Here.
Elizabeth Mitchell, Matt Seddon, Jeff Golden,
Here.
Renard Cross,
Yes. Here.
Quorum.
okay, Derek Ritchie,
Pardon me.
Duncan Campbell, Jenny Southern.
Here.
Okay, so we have a very full agenda tonight. And if you didn't see my email, I'm going to ask you guys to be concise and keep your comments pertinent to each COA. I'm going to warn the petitioners that this could be a long night for you, depending where you are in the agenda. So there's a copy of the minutes from the last meeting. Anybody have any comments around that, or I'm entertaining a motion to accept those minutes?
Move to approve. This is Sam.
Second, this is Lee.
Go ahead.
All right. All right. Lee Sandweiss,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
Sam DeSoler,
Yes.
Doug Bruce,
Abstain.
Jeff Golden,
Yes.
Renard Cross.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 5-1-0.
Elizabeth is here. You're on mute, Elizabeth.
You're on mute, Elizabeth.
Hi, this is Matt. Sorry I'm late.
Okay, so we have Matt and Elizabeth here, Eddie.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so in the interest of time, unless you have any questions regarding the staff approvals, we're gonna not go over those two staff approvals. Anybody have any questions about those two? Hearing none, let's move on. COA 21-42.
Okay, so COA, wait, why do I have this one? Give me 1 second.
There we
Okay,
go.
so COA 21-42, the petitioner is Robert Shaw, and it's for the lifting of a non-contributing structure in place 2 feet, so it's not going to be moved laterally. It's simply it's not going to be displaced. It's simply going to be lifted so that work can be done underneath. Staff recommends approval.
Bob, are you here? Anybody from representing Robert Shaw here?
Jeff, this is Daniel Dixon with Legal. I do see one hand raised. I don't know if that's for
Yeah,
this.
we're trying to get there.
Paul Ash?
Paul Ash, are you here for Bob Shaw?
Yes, well, no. This is Elizabeth Cox Ash,
Oh, yes.
Paul
yes,
Ash. And we go to the neighborhood meetings, and I thought the whole thing, anytime anyone wanted to, regardless if they were contributing or non-contributing, they had to present in front of the neighborhood.
They don't have to, but they should.
We got
Well,
just
since Mr. Shaw isn't here, Elizabeth, we're gonna move on.
Actually, Jeff, sorry, this is Daniel with Legal again. This has been pending now for a little bit, so this needs a vote to deny, otherwise the 30 days will pass. And then they'll have to resubmit.
Can we even move forward without them being here?
So the way that the rules work is that if it's not voted on within 30 days, it'll be deemed approved.
Okay, so go ahead. Let's hear it. Elizabeth, I'll give you a minute to hear your comments. Go ahead, Gloria.
What,
Go ahead, do the presentation.
for this one?
Yeah.
I already did. It's very simple.
Okay, that's it, okay.
It was simply lifting it 2 feet in the same location.
Any commissioner comments? Or questions, excuse me, I'll go through the list. Lee, any questions?
No.
No.
Doug,
No.
Chris,
No.
Sam?
Can we vote on this without the petitioner? Can we vote to approve this without the petitioner here?
Daniel?
Well, the HPC rules, they have to say they have to be present for it to be, it's a bit of a weird rule because the ordinance itself says it's approved if it's not voted on within 30 days. The HPC rules, which were created by this body, say that they have to be present for it to be deemed approved. So I think
In that case, I'm gonna just hold off on this.
We
until
can't.
Later in the meeting, in case he shows up.
Okay. But I think that just for future reference, I think the safest thing to do would be to vote to deny it and then have them resubmit it and be
Yeah, we'll
present.
do that if Mr. Shaw doesn't show up today. Okay, so let's move on to COA 21-44. And
Okay, so COA 21-44 is for a petition for a new construction in the Greater Restaurant Row, submitted by Sean Burton.
before we move on, Sean, are you here?
This is Doug Bruce. I'm representing.
You're representing him? Okay, great. Thanks,
Yeah.
Doug. Okay, go ahead, Gloria.
Okay, so this is for the new construction of a 2 4-bedroom apartment behind the main structure on 412 East 4th Street. So here it got a little sticky because there is a very similar building in the back lot on the next property over. And in terms of sizing, massing, and roofing, I as staff didn't see a problem. However, where I got really stuck and do not feel I can recommend approval is in that it says new buildings will incorporate front-facing primary facades and primary doors, and this building faces 2 alleyways. Unless those alleyways are considered primary street, if the alleys are considered street-facing facades, then I could reverse the not recommendation, but that's kind of where I stand on this. But I will leave it to everybody now to decide on the future of this project. Let me show some more images for context. This is the main building is the one on the upper right, is it right corner? The 4124 East. And then there's a similar back structure for 116. And here would be the location. So the main building is in green, the proposed structure is in red. And yeah, I don't find any problem with the massing or the roof sizing. It's all consistent with the guidelines for this district. I'm just conflicted on what constitutes a street. So I will leave it to you to decide those definitions.
Doug, what do you have to add?
Thank you. And of course, I don't know how when you get to discussions, if you have to mute me or how I don't know how we have to do that. Somebody's.
What we're gonna do, Doug, is ask you to sign out and then sign back in, and then Gloria will let you in when it's time.
Okay, how will I know when it's time?
She'll let you back into the meeting.
So sign out and sign back in immediately.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so here's a couple of thoughts on this. You know, we're using the high, we meet all the requirements for the restaurant row guidelines for height, materials, roof pitch, all of those. You know, we've got the building. It does not connect to the existing building. This client that I have has bought this 412 East 4th Street, renovated the building, has put a great deal of money into the building along 4th Street. There were 2 or 3 one-bedroom apartments upstairs that were really small and shabby, and they renovated it into one apartment. I think they came before commission when we were looking at some windows because there were some really poor windows on the existing building. So they've spent a great deal of money really making this property nice. This is on the back side of the lot, the south side. It's kind of got two alleys behind it. There's a similar structure to this directly to the east. And my understanding with what Gloria had referenced was the primary building. In other words, the primary building or any, the main structure of this building obviously has to have a door facing the street. And they have a nice porch and door, entry to that building. I'm not sure that it applies to this building in the back. I think it was certainly written so that if somebody were to build tear a building down that was not historic, something that they'd certainly have a door and entryway facing the street. This does have access off the alley. It's not terribly visible because the buildings around it are all about the same height. And then to the south of it, it's towered over by the whole Colston Square development. We kind of sit down in a hole back here. With that, I'll just answer any questions until you tell me I need to leave.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Thanks, Doug. Lee, any questions? Lee,
No, I don't have any. Thanks.
Chris?
Yeah, is there no room for something over that little door because of the clearance of the alley?
No, I think you're right. I think maybe a small, like a bracketed dormer or something, like a shed dormer over it or something, because that's really the main entry upstairs. Right now, it's just a complete asphalt parking lot there. But you're right. I think we could do something a little bit more there. We're off the alley about 6 or 8 feet, if I remember right. So there's a little bit of room to add something there, certainly.
Yeah, that's just practical and could be a little attractive. And would you consider going to 4-inch siding on this? That we approved that front building and they were supposed to use 4-inch and they never did.
We're not stuck to a size. I mean, if we were told to do 4-inch, I don't think we'd have a problem with it.
I think it would help the scale.
Okay, wait,
Can everybody mute if you're not talking, please?
I'm done talking.
Thanks, Chris. Sam?
Just to clarify, Doug, it appears that there are no garage doors and those two bays are just open.
That's right. There's, I think Gloria has a drawing of a first floor drawing showing that parking here.
So, okay, so since there are no doors, the interior of that garage is going to be visible from the public right away. What are the interior wall materials on that inside garage?
Right now, this is just poured concrete, again, because it's a garage. So, it's going to take some beating. We've got bicycle storage, recycle area in there, as you can see by that drawing. I mean, it's going to be a pretty utilitarian garage. I don't think you could get garage doors over that with this size very easily.
Okay, so the perimeter walls are concrete, and then that little sort of partition wall that partitions off the stairs that's not concrete too, is it? Or is that block?
The partition wall off the stair will be gypboard, I believe. We might end up making that block again because the bikes are there and the recycle bins are there. It certainly will all be painted in there. It just won't be normal, gray looking concrete CMU units,
Gotcha. Thank you. That's all I got.
Matt?
I have no questions.
Okay.
yeah, bye, honey.
Elizabeth?
I don't know if I'm muted or not. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Elizabeth? If you're talking, Elizabeth can't hear you.
Drive careful.
I'm sorry, I have no questions.
Thank you. I have no questions. Renard?
No question.
Jenny? Jenny, you have any questions?
No questions.
Great. Any questions from the public? Okay, commissioner comments?
Shall I leave?
Yes, please. And then just sign
Okay.
right back in, Doug.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Lee,
No, I don't have any comments.
Chris? Chris? Can't hear you.
Sorry. I think to balance the negative of those open garage doors, no doors, I would suggest we insist on 4-inch siding because it helps the scale and it fits and it'll give some contrast to that building in the neighborhood, as well as repeating a pattern that is of that era.
Sam?
Okay, so yeah, I generally think this is great infill housing. It's dense, it's right downtown, it's very helpful in terms of getting people where services are. So I like that about it. I would concur with Chris that, you know, popping the siding down a bit would be helpful if they're willing to entertain a little canopy over that back door, that would be good too. But I think the main thing I want to say is that I believe the guidelines were written such that that front door issue is for the main building. I don't think it applies to this building. So I really don't have an issue with the orientation of the entrance or the orientation of the building. I do think that the open garage bay doors are going to be problematic for the owner on down the line, just because it's right downtown and it's gonna, you know, there's no openings. So it's going to be a good place to hide out and vandals could get in there fairly easily. So I am concerned about that for the owner's sake. But as far as, you know, what the HPC has to say about it, I don't have any issues with.
Matt?
I'm convinced by Sam's argument and, but I also like Chris's suggestion of the reduction in siding. So that's what I would approve.
Elizabeth?
I agree with the siding, whoever mentioned about the siding.
I also agree with the covering over the door and the siding. Otherwise, I like this project.
May I make a final comment?
Let's get through the list first, Chris.
Sure.
Bernard?
No comment. Chris, go ahead.
I think they'll regret not having doors. I mean, even if they leave them open until they have a problem, it would also be a better screen for pedestrians. So perhaps we should suggest that those doors be used. I wish we could have kind of had this discussion with him in the room. But I don't know how other people think about the doors. Maybe we should discuss that one more round if anyone else is thinking that makes sense.
Jenny, you have any comments?
Jenny, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm unmuted now. Angela, you're not muted.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I've been petting my dog and
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I would agree that I really don't like that open bay, big concrete bay. Nothing about that says it should be in a historic district. I would prefer they had no parking at all to that. Also, I'm not sure if the builders are going to listen to us at all, because I know the siding on the previous building was not only the wrong size when they redid the one in front of this one, but is also a weird, shiny, printed something. On the restaurant. If you walk up to that, it's very fakey, weird, texturally. So I would say I'd really like to see samples of the material if they're not going to use the exact same material as they use next door, if they say they're going to use the same materials as the one in front of them. I would really object to that. And like I said, the open concrete bay says nothing about turn of the century to me at all. It's just misplaced completely. Since it is on an alley, it is a secondary frontage, I believe. Is there an alley along the side? I think there is.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that was my own comments.
So we can make suggestions. This fits the guidelines. In fact, we set precedent by approving the building next door. So I think that we can ask Doug about the siding and ask that they do that. But otherwise, I think that this does fit in. They're not trying to make this look old, nor should they. So that's why I'm supporting this project. Okay, so you're gonna have let's have a motion if anybody has one.
I move to approve.
Who made that motion?
Matt Seddon.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have a second?
I'd like to add a condition to the motion.
So this is a friendly amendment. Are you good with that, Matt?
I'm good with that.
Go ahead, Chris.
4-inch siding. I think I'll give up on the opening doors.
Okay, so we have a first and second with 4-inch siding. Eddie?
Okay. Lee Sandweiss,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Elizabeth Mitchell,
Yes, I approve.
Matt Seddon,
Yeah. Yes.
Jeff Golden,
Yes.
Renard Cross.
Yeah.
Okay, motion carries 7-0-1.
Great, thanks. So let's let Doug back in.
I'm not seeing him. Here he is, yes. Perfect. Takes a few seconds.
Yeah. Doug? If you can hear me, Doug, it was approved with the condition of 4-inch siding. Okay, so let's move on.
I think Bob Shaw's here.
Bob, are you here now?
Yes,
Bob Shaw?
yes,
Great. So
yes, I had trouble with the link.
We've seen the presentation, so we're to the questions part. So Commissioner questions. Lee, do you have any questions for regarding this project?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Doug, are you back?
Yes, I am.
You have any questions about this?
No questions.
Chris?
No questions except for the alternate of using split face block, perhaps. Is that a possibility?
May I comment?
Yeah.
It would require that I tear down the blocks that are already there. Otherwise, it'd look a little bit strange. I am willing to paint them or, to try to make them look less visible. But I had the same tenant in there for about 18 years. The picture there, you see the front of his car, which they finally towed away, but he committed suicide. And so I had to get into the crawl space to clean up the crawl space, and we just couldn't get in there. And for about 15 of those years, he was a chain smoker. So the whole inside of the structure is just polluted with yellow nicotine. And I wanted to replace all of the heat runs because you couldn't get rid of it.
Sure, understand.
So we tried to get in there, and we just couldn't. I ended up having to tear up part of the floor to get down to remove what we needed to do. And it just became obvious that we couldn't do it like that. When I initially rehabbed that structure, it was little more than a shed 40 years ago. And I tore it down pretty much to just the walls and the floor and added the second story with the gambrel roof there. So the bedroom's upstairs, and just to give us some room to work and to be able to maintain it, it just needs to go up a little bit because there was
I understand.
No
It was just a casual question. I understand the problem. Thanks.
okay, just trying to.
Pam, any questions?
No questions.
Matt,
No,
Elizabeth? Elizabeth?
No questions.
I don't have any questions. Renard?
No questions for me.
Jenny, any questions?
No questions.
Elizabeth Ash, did you want to say something?
Yes, we got, one of our executive members got a request from Bob to present to the neighborhood association. Are you not requiring the neighborhood association to comment? Because the neighborhood association hasn't seen this or heard about it. And, you know, we need some guidance because our next meeting is on October 7th. And is he going to be on the agenda or not?
So that is partially mainly on staff. I started in July, so I'm still getting, I will be in contact with you for the next few projects that are coming in. There's another one that's going to be seen in McDowell Gardens soon, so in October. So I just, I'll get in contact with you tomorrow because I'm still trying to figure out who are the proper liaisons for each neighborhood. And for McDowell, I was still struggling a bit regarding that. The guidelines specifically for this historic district calls for letters of support from neighbors, and it doesn't specify neighborhood associations. So anyways, that's something we can talk about tomorrow.
Daniel, do you have any input on this?
No, I don't have anything to add to that. And I guess it would depend mostly on the guidelines for the district, if they mandate input from the neighborhood association or not. I don't have that answer right now, though. I don't believe that they do, but.
Okay, great. Commissioner comments, Lee,
No,
Doug,
No comments.
Chris,
Seems fine to me.
Sam?
I think though it's better to talk to the neighborhood before. It's not specifically required by the guidelines, and this is a non-contributing building in an elevated conservation district where it's, you know, it's basically the same building, but a couple feet higher. So I've got no issues with supporting this one.
Great. Elizabeth?
All right.
Elizabeth?
It's okay with me.
I'm also going to support this. Renard?
I'll support it.
Jenny? Any comments?
No. No problem, no comments.
Okay, great. So we're going to have a motion.
I move to approve COA 2142.
That was Matt,
Second.
and that was Lee. Go ahead, Eddie.
You're muted.
Eddie, you're muted.
Sorry. Okay, Lee Sandweiss, Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Doug Bruce,
Yes.
Elizabeth Mitchell,
Yes.
Matt Stedden,
Yes,
Jeff Golden,
Yes,
Renard Cross.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
thank you. So let's move on to 21-47. John, are you here? Is the petitioner here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yep, okay. Go ahead, Gloria.
Okay, so this proposal calls for the construction of a outdoor pre-built shed in the backyard. Although it is not considered ideal by the standards of the Elm Heights Historic District, staff saw that it would be, and it would be visible from Highland Street. It's still retired far enough back, and staff found that the materials weren't superimposing or distracting from the rest of the landscape, and therefore staff is recommending approval.
John, you have anything to add to this?
No, I guess I was surprised by the comment about not using I'll call it a pre-designed shed. I'd be open to looking at different models if that'd be more appealing. I'm just not sure where else to go to get ideas about construction of the shed.
So let's move on to commissioner questions. Lee?
I don't have any questions.
Doug?
No questions.
Chris?
No questions.
Sam?
Oh, my God.
The Elm Heights Neighborhood Design Committee.
No, no, no. Oh, God. Oh, God.
I don't think so.
Don't have anything from them.
No other questions then.
Matt?
No questions.
Elizabeth?
No questions.
I don't have any questions. Bernard?
No questions.
Jenny?
Yes, I do have a question.
Yes, please.
Yes, the previous owner of this property mentioned something about drainage in that corner of the yard and something about a big grate there that's actually in that concrete there where they've got those recycling containers.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, where does that grate go?
But, the property slopes to my neighbor to the east there, so I'm assuming there must be some drainage going that way. I don't have a great answer to that question.
Do we know if there's an easement under there?
I do not know. You've got the drawings from the plant survey, lot survey, but it doesn't indicate anything about that, no.
Okay, well, I was a little worried about blocking. That's so low there and neighbors is low. If there's actually a drainage grate there, you might not want to put your shed right on top of it. It could cause backup and damage to the house. That was my biggest concern about the placement of the shed. And the design it's not particularly Cape Cod or if from that era, and it doesn't have to be, but yeah, it's very visible from Highland. You asked earlier about, somebody did, that was Sam. The review committee had reviewed on that, and I actually didn't have access to a computer for the last while. And I did get it yesterday. So no, nothing was sent to the review committee about any of the stuff in Elm Heights. So there hasn't been comment on it.
Can you do me a favor and reach out to Gloria and help her get connected with that committee?
Please, because nobody gave me a listserv of any of the committees.
Okay.
I've been reaching out slowly as I find people.
Right. So any of the stuff that comes up on Elm Heights tonight, no committee has reviewed that.
Okay, great.
That's true.
Thanks for your input. Okay, any questions from the public? Commissioner comments? Lee?
No.
Doug?
No comments.
Chris?
I would suggest if you want to make it less glaring, to use a solid color stain, and it would age it. You could use a color that kind of makes it blend, a gray, a stone off, just another color so it's painted instead of a bright natural wood that is inevitably going to fade anyway. So that's just my suggestion, not a requirement.
Yeah, we were thinking about painting the shed and not leaving it just a natural wood color. So take that into consideration.
Sam?
All right, so I'm looking at the guy.
We lost you, Sam.
You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. I'm looking at the guidelines, and there's a couple things in there that I think are salient. One is that the new buildings are supposed to harmonize with adjacent neighborhood buildings in terms of height, scale, mass, and materials. The materials on this one, you've got sort of an agricultural metal roof, as opposed to all the adjacent buildings, which look like mostly comp shingle. The other thing that it's in section 5.1, new buildings should echo the setback orientation, spatial rhythm, and then the roof shape, the size of the window, the door openings, building materials should be primarily compatible with any structure already on the property. And, this is an unequal slope roof that doesn't match the slope of the existing building. I don't know. I think there's a couple of issues I have with this shed. Plus, the guidelines also explicitly state they should avoid the choice of pre-manufactured sheds or service buildings that are uncharacteristic of its surroundings. So, Elm Heights is one of the most restrictive, or it is the most restrictive historic district in Bloomington. And I tend to hew to the guidelines on these, and I'm going to have a problem supporting this one. The other big issue I think here is that the setbacks through planning for this zone are 6 foot on the side and 25 foot at the rear. And I think if they want to get this through planning, they're going to need a variance. Then we are going to have to support them in that for them to have a chance at it. And I don't know that I'm willing to do that, but I think that's what I got to say on this one.
Thanks, Sam. Matt?
No comments.
Elizabeth? Can't hear you, Elizabeth. I don't have any comments. Bernard?
No comments.
Jenny?
I would agree with what Sam said. He said it much. And yes, the color is also glaring, though we do not review color. I think the stain would help with match it to the limestone house and make it less noticeable, blend into it. But that was my only comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm entertaining a motion.
May I ask a question before the motion?
Of course.
Of the petitioner? Would the petitioner be willing to make the painting a condition of the installation of the shed? He's free to make that a condition. We are not free to make it a condition.
We don't have purview.
That's right, we don't, but he has the opportunity to voluntarily encumber himself if he wants to.
Yeah, that's.
I'm just asking if he'd be interested in doing that. He said they were thinking of painting it anyway.
Yeah, so this is John again, so I have no problem painting a suggested color. My main goal is to provide storage for my lawnmower and some of my yard implements and sort of thing. So the particular color of it, I have no issue with that at all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
What is this?
2147.
You want to make that
21.
subject, Chris?
Oh, I'm moving to, did you ask for a motion?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm moving to approve 2142.
47.
That's,
47,
Okay.
thank you.
do we have a second?
Second.
Who was the second?
Doug, Bruce.
Thank you.
Certain.
Okay. Lee
Yes.
Sandweiss. Chris Sturbaugh.
Yes,
Sam DeSaller.
No.
Doug Bruce.
Yes.
Elizabeth Mitchell.
Yes.
Matt Seddon.
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Reynard Cross.
No.
Okay. Motion carries 6-2.
Great. Let's move on. COA 21-51.
So this is another property in the Elm Heights Historic District. The petitioner is requesting to do tuck pointing to remove 1980s window style air conditioner from the masonry wall and to restore that masonry wall using stone and restore the front concrete walkway with limestone and using as much recovered material as possible. And the staff recommends approval because all of the actions taken constitute as basic conservation work and restoration work, and there's not a lot of, there's no change to the building except to bring it back to a more original look.
Which
Yeah.
we don't really know.
So I see you're here, Angela. You have
Yeah,
anything to
hi.
add?
Mhm.
Anything to add?
Honestly, we really, I mean, we're working with Paul Chambers, and our understanding is there's two kinds of concrete, crappy concrete and crappier concrete. So at some point, we have several different kinds of concrete in we have 3 stairways and 2 walkways that lead to our front door. And they've really just crumbled and dissipated to the point that I think the mailman probably hates our guts. But we hope that maybe when we dig into the concrete, possibly the original limestone is there. That did happen with the very front facade of the house when we removed the gigantic shrubs that were here. We uncovered a lot of beautiful original limestone. So, my husband submitted the COA, so I don't know exactly what it says, but I'm assuming that we're on the same page. I wasn't home then, but I am now.
Great, thank you. Commissioner questions? Lee?
No.
Doug?
No questions.
Chris?
no,
Sam?
Is anything happening with that bench? There's some.
Oh,
pictures
yeah.
that include-
Yes, we have, if you have walked by here, we have a stump that's like holding the bench up. Is that mentioned in the COA? Or-
No.
Oh, it isn't.
we approve the stump.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if Darren mentioned, my husband's in an undisclosed location in the Middle East right now. I don't even know where he is, and he didn't make copies of the COA, so I'm a little blind in this, but the
I can look it
bench,
up right now.
I'm sorry?
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Okay. He maybe mentioned the bench. The bench kind of like collapsed in the middle, but we know it's original, and we've had a stump and several things holding it up, but we know the bench is original. We could very easily get rid of it and, just be done with it. But it's important to both of us that we keep it the way that the Wileys intended it. And Paul is going to fix it. Paul Chambers is going to fix it. If that's part of the COA, I don't know.
It didn't look like it was in the packet in any place.
It's not in the packet.
Oh, it's horrible, isn't it? It's a hideous eyesore, I know, but we're fixing it.
Any other questions, Sam?
No,
It should
thank you.
it should have
Pat?
been in the packet. Can we add it to the packet now? I know that it's on Paul's estimate.
You can repair in kind, so you don't need to do anything if you're just going to fix it.
Oh, okay. So like the tuck pointing. Okay, good to know. All right.
Matt?
No.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Hang on.
Do you have any questions?
No.
I don't have any questions. Renard, any questions?
No questions.
Jenny?
Yes, I had a question about the railings. Are they going to be removed, replaced, untouched?
Well, so I am open to suggestions about those railings. Last summer I painted them, I spray painted them, and it significantly improved the appearance of them. I don't know. I have a picture of the house in the 1940s, and I can't tell what the two very front railings are. The one, we do have two original, very beautiful iron, or I think that's what they are. What are they? The handrails on the front stoop. And it's sort of been deemed that they are not repairable, which I just can't quite swallow. So they're still there. But as far as the railings go, I don't know whatever you guys want to do. I mean, again, I didn't write the COA, my husband did, so. Over.
Any other questions, Jenny?
No, the ones that are down by the sidewalk, those are non-original, right, Angela?
I think you're right. I absolutely think you're right. And they're ugly as all get out. So if I mean, I don't know what the kind of like insurance thing is with that, if we have to have them, if we don't, you know, I know that behind our house, we took out a railing and then our insurance company kind of came after us. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to do about those railings. I mean, I painted them and I tried to make them look as you know, seamless as possible, but I guess I didn't do a very good job. But
Any questions from the public?
wait, I have one more thing to say. Actually,
Yeah.
Jenny has a really good point. Those railings will have to come out when we demo the concrete. So what will we do with them? That's a great question. And I guess
They're not
that
addressed
is,
in the COA, so before you replace it with anything,
I know.
we need a new COA.
Could we maybe
railing.
can we just maybe do this if she'd like to go over her C of As and make more detail and take off stuff that doesn't actually need approval? Can we just forward this maybe to the next meeting if we'd like?
Sure. I tried to get a hold of Darren all day today to figure out what he had sent in and what he hadn't and how he'd written it. And I just was not successful.
So what we'll need from you on the new COA is what you're gonna do with the bench and how you're gonna
Right.
handle railings, both
Okay.
on the stoop and on the stairway.
The ones on the stoop are staying right now. They're functional. They're a little bit ugly, but they're functional and they are original. But on the walkway to our house, those are not original. And yeah, we'll figure that out and submit it. And the benches, it cracked me up that Sam mentioned that bench is just has been a big point of contention for us.
So I believe that
We're
we're gonna
fixing
have to
it.
vote to table this until the meeting. So can I have a motion for that?
May I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Is there something scheduled like the limestone removal of the air conditioner, which is completely uncontroversial? Is there anything
Yeah, That's horrifying.
mean-
That's horrifying. And it's
I'm
actually
just-
on the side of the house. So I don't think that was something he really had to
How
submit
about
anyway.
if we decide to do this, that we go ahead and do this COA, and you guys do a new COA covering the bench and the railings, and just do it pretty quickly.
Paul Chambers is working this in between jobs that he has. So we do have a little bit of a time constraint.
So that's why I'm suggesting that we approve that without, and then you come back with what you're gonna do with the railings and that bench.
Okay, well, the bench
that
is
make
going to be
sense?
fixed. The bench is going to be fixed as original.
Okay,
So it can be left alone. We don't
It can
need
be left alone.
approval.
so just come back with the railings.
Okay, we actually moved the bench from one side of the house to the other.
Okay, so let's go to commissioner comments. Lee, do you have any comments?